Now this here is the Little Monsters book Worried Winnie. Winnie worried about everything. If she went for a walk, she would worry in case it rained. But the sun is shining today, said her mum. Then I could easily get sunburnt, she replied worriedly. I'd better put on some sun cream. If Winnie was invited to a party, she would worry about being early. If she was going out with her friends, she would worry about being late. Winnie worried about pollution, about her hair falling out, not that it did, and whether to have pancakes for breakfast. Winnie worried about what was in her baked beans. She had to read all the labels on the tins in the supermarket. Don't worry, said her mum, time after time. But Winnie did. Some of Winnie's worries were big, some were small, but there were always lots and lots of them. Winnie tried horse riding once. She enjoyed it but couldn't stop worrying in case she fell off, and she didn't, of course. Winnie joined an aerobics class to keep fit, but worried that she might sprain something. If you follow the instructor, then you won't, said her mum. Don't worry. But Winnie couldn't help it. She just did. I don't blame her. So Winnie decided to do something less dangerous. I know, I'll knit myself a jumper, she said. Winnie had no sooner started than she began to worry. What if I run out of wool, she thought, or it might be too big or too small? That would be awful. So Winnie decided to forget about knitting. It wasn't worth the worry. Winnie's friend Chip let her play on his computer. I've got some great games, he said. Chip showed Winnie the games, but there were so many to choose from. Which one was the best? Chip picked out a game for her to try, but Winnie worried that it would be too difficult for her. So Chip found an easier game, but Winnie worried that it might be too easy. What could Winnie do that wouldn't make her worry so much? I know, said her dad one day. Why don't you collect stamps? This sounded interesting to Winnie. She couldn't see what there was to worry about. Collecting stamps seemed to be worry-free. Winnie's dad pulled down a stamp album from the bookshop. I used to collect them when I was younger. Here, you can have my collection and add to it, he said. Winnie was delighted. This was just what she needed. Over the next few weeks, Winnie happily collected more stamps. She had one from Australia and one from Mexico, and she even found one that Auntie Gwen had sent on a postcard from Tibet. She neatly pasted them into her book, next to the ones that her dad had collected. One day, Uncle Peter came to visit. Winnie hadn't been worrying so much lately. She'd been too busy with her stamps. Eagerly, he showed her uncle her collection, and he was very impressed. One of these days, I can see this collection might be worth lots of money, he said. Winnie started to think about that. Just exactly how much was a lot of money? If a lot was a huge amount, then what would she do with it? Should she spend it on herself or give it away? If she spent it on herself, what would she buy? If she gave it away, who would she give it to? It was all too much to Winnie. She couldn't cope with the worry. Here, Dad, she said, handing him the stamp collection after Uncle Peter had left. You can have it back. It's too much for me to worry about. Winnie's dad was puzzled. Okay, I'll put it back on the shelf, he said. Winnie was so relieved, it felt as if a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She felt wonderful. I do worry far too much, said Winnie at bedtime. It can't be good for me. Winnie's parents agreed and said goodnight. But Winnie couldn't sleep. She was worrying about the effects of worrying too much. I don't blame her. She is a worrier. She is a very worried girl after all.